brain, your hands, and your gestures work together in a way that we need to tap into. So, how are we going to tap into that? Well, we've got to pay attention. And it's a lot easier to pay attention to other people's gestures than your own. So, let me show you what you do with your hands by getting comfortable, by getting out of the formal guy lecturing in a courtroom, and instead being comfortable like I'm sitting on my picnic table in my backyard. All right, so what do people do now? So now I'm not making a lecture in a courtroom. I'm just hanging with my friends in my backyard. So here's your job. Look at my hands, not my eyes. And that's why we don't know what people do with their hands. We simply don't look. So now look. And as I demonstrate the three gesture patterns that you use all the time, the give, the show, and the chop, focus your eyes on my hands. All right? Here's my little paragraph that's going to demonstrate the essence of human behavior while gesturing. Look at my hands. On my vacation, I went to the Grand Canyon. And while I was at the Grand Canyon, I saw the California condors. You know, those endangered birds? They're like this big, but they've got a wingspan of almost 9 feet. And they live for over 40 years. Man, they were so interesting. Well, what did I just do with my hands? I didn't just randomly wave them around. No one does that. I didn't talk like a politician with the thumb puppet. Vote for me. Nobody does that. That's a gesture that nobody in conversation has ever used. You know, I've never in my life seen someone use that and say, hey, nice blouse. So it's not a real gesture. And of course, I didn't do the finger wag, which is what politicians are also fond of. Vote for me, like those condors will. You know, it's not that. So what we do with our hands is we give, we show, and we chop. Here they are again. Look at my hands. I went to where I saw and I'm giving you that fact. I could say, good morning, I'm Brian Johnson, and I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. Now, how do we know that's the give? Well, does another gesture work? Let's try that. On my vacation, I went to the Grand Canyon where I saw the condor. I love the fact that that's funny. You know, that is not funny. That is funny. Why is that funny? Because your eyes know that that's not what we do, man. That's not how... Good morning. I'm Brian Johnson. I live in St. Paul. Because that's the... Sorry, kids. We're not going to the Grand Canyon. That's negation, and this is the give. All right, so we give. And we don't just give... So we could apply this to trial ad. We don't just give facts, an opening statement, or a theme. You know, this is a case about personal responsibility, folks. I'm giving you that. I'm giving you, it happened on July 13th, I'm giving you that. So we give facts, but we also give questions. So when you think about, you know, what is the questioning gesture? What is the questioning gesture? Oh, that's the questioning gesture. Hey, where are you from? What kind of car do you drive? You got any pets? And we would never say, where are you from? That's not what we do. We give questions and we give facts. So it's a hugely important understanding in trial ad because it applies to opening statements given the facts. It applies to direct. It applies to cross. It's the give. Then very often, without knowing it, we say, you know what? It sure would be helpful if I just became a visual aid because visual aids are important. So let me be one. You know, those birds are wingspan, lifespan, 40 years. And that's the show. Now the show has an incredible number of variations. I mean, an infinite number of variations. I could show you how little. I could show you how big. I could show you the process that we're engaged in. I could show you the plaintiff and the defendant, the one hand and the other hand, the pros and the cons, the good and the bad. So we spend an incredible amount of time without even knowing it, showing what we're talking about. And then when we're really fired up, like in closing argument or certain leading questions on cross, we tend to chop. That's what persuasion looks like. If you and I were talking, you know, where do you want to eat lunch? No, I ate there last week, man. The food really sucks. The karate chop of emphasis is what persuasion not only looks like, but sounds like. When I talk to you with these gestures, I speak differently. So, we give, palms up. We show in an infinite number of ways. And when we're really powered up, we tend to chop. And that pretty much covers all of human behavior in a zone that's surprisingly big. So here's an interesting thing to look at. When people are nervous, this zone, when we're loose, shrinks because we're nervous and therefore tight. Look at my hands. On my vacation, I went to the Grand Canyon where I saw those condors. You know, they're about this big and live about this long and have a wingspan of, you know, when we're nervous, the gestures become just from the wrist or the elbow and then eventually from the shoulder. As my mentor used to say, you got to have a little air in the armpits if you want to look comfortable. If you don't, you look tight and you feel robotic. So that's the general truth about gesturing, but don't believe me. Take your own eyes out into the world, look at yourself, more easily look at other people, and see this weird connection between how we talk and how we gesture. But here's the real secret that we're going to practice in this 2-minute drill. The good news is you already know how to do everything I just described unconsciously. So now we're just going to make you conscious of it. But you already do all this stuff. So the real secret of what do you do with your hands is where do you put your hands so you're ready to do it? So you're ready to gesture. Well, let's look at what I'm doing right now, sitting here on my picnic table in my backyard. Where are my hands right now? Where are your hands right now? Many of you are sitting in a position akin to what I'm doing. Hands touching in the middle of your body, elbows bent. We'll call that the ready position. From here, I'm ready to gesture. So what if we said, all right, what if I kept this position? In other words, what if I leave my arms exactly in this position, but I go from my backyard in St. Paul to the courtroom and my hands are still right here?